Okay, here we go. This is Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica. We're 7 minutes late for today's live. Um, as usual, every time I get into the back scenes in my computer, something has changed and things get a little slow as I try to figure out why things are different than they are. Let's see here. And let's see what we can get started. Okay, so we're starting out. We haven't done a live in several months. I had some family members who were extraordinarily sick and in the hospital, so we were a little bit behind on a lot of our scheduling, but family is the most important thing, so there's nothing you can do about that. You do the best you can with what you have. We got in some workouts. I have a whole separate kit back there in the Midwest, competition adjustable kettlebells, and you wake up every day and you do the best you can. You set a weight and then you don't put the weight down for 20 minutes, 30 minutes at a time, which is a little less than I like to have done. I like to do a much longer period of time for training, like 60 minutes. But if you can get in 10 minutes before you go sit in the hospital, you get in 10 minutes before you go and sit in the hospital. You're not eating the best food during that time, of course, because you're taking care of family and doing all these other things. Uh, but we're back now. We've been working on the warehouse here nonstop pretty much since I've been back. I got back and then I was only here for a week and then I had to fly back again for another family emergency. And we've been back here for, I think, 2.5 weeks now in Los Angeles. We just did a heavy club seminar, which was really, really, really good. It was our best heavy club seminar ever. Anytime you come to a club seminar or a seminar in general, they will constantly be changing because my job is to figure out how to make every seminar better than it's ever been before. So it was our tightest version of the seminar ever. And we're getting through all of the planned material about 3 hours before stop time, which means we get to actually explore new material that we haven't otherwise been able to explore before. Seminars. So we just had that seminar. We have a couple of seminars coming up. We have London seminar coming up for everybody in London. Last year, that seminar was huge. It was like 20 people in a very small space. This time we have a much, much, much larger space. So sign up for that seminar. That's going to be a fun one. That's going to be staff, Mace, and club. Primarily, it is staff drills for 30 minutes. Then we will convert into basic Mace drills. The most important things that you can learn with a Mace are 360 and a couple of hand transitions, because we want to relate the staff directly to the Mace so people can see exactly how they are the same. And then that informs their training forever. And then we combine that with club training drills. It is a compromised seminar where we have 3 topics instead of 1 topic, but that actually allows the survivability of the seminar to be a lot higher, because jumping from topic to topic to topic actually allows people to rest and keep going for longer. It's a learning technique that I learned a long, long time ago in relation to martial arts. It also works for things like math. It's so the London seminar is that it's coming up. We have a seminar coming up here in July at the Asylum. It is staff, club, and Mace, I think, if I have that right. I don't have my calendar directly in front of me here. We have a club seminar, pure club seminar here in October. Think of that for people who really want to get up in club training and for people who want to be instructors. In November, we have a kettlebell seminar, pure kettlebell. Think of this for people who want to get the most out of life. And then there's a pure staff seminar in November as well. Not in London, but at the Asylum seminar here in July. If you've been to the seminar before, we've had some of our alumni vote, and they have decided that we will be doing the seminar for advanced people in Apocalypse Kit because it's awesome. One of our people who's been to like 5 staff seminars has really gotten very far, wants to know where we go. And the answer is we start adding in situational things, real world things. There's an easy way to train mixed level people at the same time, beginners and advanced individuals, as we start adding in all this stuff from that you would need in order to carry. We are discussing it through the lens of Lord of the Rings. The person who we're talking about this with is a video game designer, so she is very familiar with all the stuff that you would need. She designs zombie video games. So we've been using like Lord of the Ring kit as a basis. People are gonna have to start showing up with their actual kit that you would actually carry if it was the Lord of the Rings or the Walking Dead or the Last of Us. And you will be judged on the contents of your kit because it's fun and it's an instructive and entertaining thing to do. This idea is a carryover from movie training where there's a lot of people who can do judo in their gi, but there's not a lot of people who can do judo in a suit in a hallway. Because you can do one does not necessarily mean you can do the other. If you are at low complexity, it does not mean you can do high complexity. But if you do high complexity, it means low complexity is easier forever. So people will be running all of their drills through, and we will discuss how people carry things and the best way to do things. And then this is going to keep going for staff seminars forever. What usually happens is we provide some basic instruction on what people should have. They should have the 5 C's of survivability or the 5 C's of civilization: cutting tools, combustion sources, containers, cover, and cordage. They have to have those 5 things on your body the whole time so that you can figure out how to carry them. And this is a holdover from tactical firearms training, which you use to make sure people know how to do stuff in movies. It's one thing to do judo, but it's another thing to do judo with a gun belt on and then do reloads after you do the throws. Right, the classic, the John Wick scenario. So when we train this, we let people bring what they have, do stuff, and then they will instantly figure out whether or not their boots work, their pants work, whether or not their gloves work, where their equipment is, does it get in the way of their movements, and they will refine it over time. This is not anything fancy at all. This is exactly what everybody in the world did up until 100 years ago. If you were a cowboy, you carried your kit with you all the time for as far as you had to go. If it was the ancient world, you carried all the stuff you needed to survive, and you didn't get to stop and put it down and put on your special training clothes. So people are going to come and do their training in their clothes. We just shot a single arm heavy club training program that should be out in April. I shot it years ago. My editor didn't like it because I shot it alone in a forest. And he was not impressed with my cameramanship when I was alone and couldn't see my own frame or anything. I just shot stuff because I thought it was fun. But we reshot it here in the asylum, and it will look a lot better. And my editor will now be happy with me, which is my most important thing: is keeping editors happy so that they don't lead a rebellion against me. We have, what do we need to talk about? We just put out a program, which is a combination program with Will Safford of Order and Progress. That is specifically in BJJ. So let's think about training. So we have the normal Wildman training line, which starts at TOI. People are extraordinarily injured. There are 3 paths inside that for now, and that's getting added on to. We have Intro to Kettlebell, where Intro to Kettlebell is teaching people how to be successful with a kettlebell in the future. That leads into swings, which is where a lot of people want to start, but a lot of people don't have success with that. That's why Intro to Kettlebell is there. Then clean and press, then Turkish get up. We need to work on shooting the squat program and the snatch program. Once again, I shot a snatch program alone on a mountain in the snow, and my editor was less impressed with it. So we are going to try to reshoot some of that, mainly for my editor's edification. Edification, is that the right use of that word? I'm not quite sure. It's in there somewhere. And so the BJJ program lies outside of that. So think of that as our standard person that wants to do everything General Physical Preparedness for Life program series. The basis of strength is in that as well. And now we have a BJJ program because Will Stafford from Order and Progress. Will Stafford's an Atos brown belt, and I met him on a beach in Hawaii in like 2021. And we just started talking about BJJ and martial arts. And he was telling me all about the evolution of BJJ since I stopped doing jujitsu, 15 years ago, and how much it's changed and why it's changed and all these things like that. And then he was experiencing a lot of discomfort from training, back injuries, elbow injuries, all these other things. And I got him into heavy club swinging. We made a program a long time ago, which I was not super pleased with because it went through an editor that I didn't have control over. And so we have started our own BJJ line specific to BJJ, where we can think of it as activity and sport specific preparedness instead of general physical preparedness specific to BJJ players and wrestlers in general. We're going to just start remaking a lot of content through that lens where we discuss why it's important for BJJ guys, especially position specific. And will be providing us with clips where we talk about shin box, and he'll be providing us with, and this is it in BJJ competition right here. This is why the program is the way it is. So we shot that in November. It came out in January. We have 5 additions to that program planned just this year because what we did was we picked specific positions that people suck at in BJJ, and then we created programs specifically around that, which is fun to do. And what program design should really be about, it should be solving problems that people actually have, right? Training should be an engineering equation where we try to make things better every time forever. We're never done. We can always make stuff better. Related to that, so think of BJJ as more advanced athletic training, activity specific, sport specific. In the TOI General Physical Preparedness Program, we have added Indian Club. This one is super specific to me and my family and the people I know. Most of my programs are. We created an Indian Club program, which is inside the TOI program. There's a kettlebell version of the program, a heavy club version of the program, which is based on the 8X club, and an Indian Club version of the program, which is really mobility camouflaged, so I can get my mom to do it. I wrote these programs because I was dissatisfied with the physical therapy that members of my family were receiving. They never got better with all the physical therapy that they did over 10 years. They didn't get better. And I found that to be horrifying. And so I created an Indian Club program and I tested it with a bunch of people that I knew who were injured in the military and with my mom and with her friends, and be like, can people understand it this way? How can we make this understandable? But the goal of that program is to get people to stand up. Everybody thinks that standing up is really easy if you're in shape. If you've been deconditioned, severely injured, or been thrown off of a horse 1,000 times, my mom was a very high level equestrian for many years. You have a lot of abuse in your body, and just standing up is the limiting factor. And when people dismiss that it hurts and that it's difficult to do those basic things, that does not help. We need to create programs for that thing. So we created that program, and we're going to keep adding to it forever because I would like to create a Indian club. Think of that as light clubs, way lighter than heavy clubs, totally different category, which is really movement and brain training camouflaged as doing something. It is all a neurological trick to trick people into standing up and moving their body in ways that they aren't used to doing. And this has a highly positive effect on the way people's brain works, and they learn to endure and breathe a bunch of different ways. I see Red Force Chinese Boxing is in the comment section over here, and he will love this one. I talk to this guy about this stuff all the time. because it is camouflaged Tai Chi, essentially, which is camouflaged Chinese medicine, which is 5 different types of movements that move your body in different ways, which cause an expansion and contraction of the rib cage, which the theory is it massages your organs and makes you better. It's really hard to argue with the fact that people who move better live longer. Uh, Professional ballerinas tend to live very long and healthy lives because they tend to never stop doing ballet. We don't have a practice built into our modern world, which causes us to go outside and not stop moving in a low level with increasingly complex movements for a long period of time every day. So we're going to try to put it back. We had some questions about intro to kettlebell. Intro to kettlebell actually works for the exact beginning of training when you don't know how to kettlebell, and it works really, really well above 32K, whatever is really heavy for you. So 32K is kind of where a lot of stuff breaks down for most men. It could be 16, 20, or 24K, depending on frame size for ladies. Getting above that is a challenge for a lot of people. Intro to kettlebell, because the drills are all just about picking it up and putting it down properly, and they're broken up into a metcon, actually does work above 32K for people who are chasing the 48K. And life is long, you might as well chase the 48K eventually somewhere in your training or whatever you consider heavy. So this was a question that I had pop up a bunch of times in the last couple of weeks. How do you train above 32K? And the answer is the same way you train when you don't know how to do things. It's the intro to kettlebell program, because all of those drills allow you to learn to adapt to the heavier weights. It is a slow path. There is that sweet spot, which we've known about for hundreds of years, of 16 to 32K, where people can get a lot of response very quickly. Above 32K for single arm work is hard for a large portion of the population to attain. The way that you attain that is by breaking it down into small pieces and practicing it in a specific path. The only difference is you increase the rest times in ITK from 30 seconds into the 90 seconds to 2-minute range, so that you're turning it into pure strength training. Is the Mark II kettlebell out yet? We have a special, another kettlebell that we have designed in conjunction with Bells of Steel, where we're trying to shoot for the 99% of the population who doesn't do kettlebells. We have designed a smaller kettlebell, which adjusts right now from 6 to 12K. Think of it as kind of the size of the old Russian red 12K. This is it right here. And this is going to be the bell. It lies perfectly on your forearm. Even for me, it's 6'2", no pressure on the bone. You can actually snatch this. Even at my size, if you're smaller than me, it's definitely going to work for you. We went with a smaller handle diameter because it balanced out the weight of the bell more. The 35 millimeter handle that I put on my big kettlebell is specific. It's not common. Normal is 33. I like 35. But this is going to be our upcoming product coming out very, very, very soon. And it's going to be specifically designed for people who are new to kettlebelling. 200 million people could benefit from this product at least, because it goes all the way down to 6K, and we're going to get 1K jumps and then eventually half K jumps. So we can go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And we're going to get it down even lower than that eventually. We're going to get it down into the 4K. We're working on product for that as well, so that anybody, no matter how hurt, can start training and run a pure math program to get exactly what they want out of training. Not having the equipment has been the limiting factor in training for people for as long as I've been a trainer, and substantially before that. The limiting factor has always been equipment and programming. People don't know what to do, and they don't have the stuff to do it, even if they do know what to do. So we're still trying to solve that problem. The bells of steel, 12 to 32 kilogram Mark Wildman bell with our half K plates. It's not a huge innovation, but it matters to about 200 million people to go from 12 to 12 and a half to 13 to 13 and a half so that people can continue to walk up and run a pure math program forever. And then the Mark II, this is going to be called the Mark II. I know it's a fun thing. My editor came up with that. He comes up with a lot of things and yells at me a lot. But now we're going to get from 4K eventually to 32K in half K jumps. That means kettlebelling can become absolutely perfect. The same way that we're working on making sure that clubbing is accessible for everybody, heavy club swinging with the 8X, starting down at the 4.5 for the Wildman handle to the 6, and walking our way all the way up to at least the 50, and then getting above that eventually into the 80-pound. The goal is to make the equipment so that nobody fails, so that everybody can lead a healthier, better life. Okay. And we have, this one is, once again, Randall Davis from Red Force Chinese Boxing. You're going to love this one. This is a horribly bad idea brought to full fruition. So you have things at the low end of the training scale, and you have things at the high end of training scale. So I worked with Badland Outfitters to make this mace. This mace is 13 pounds. It's not 10. It's not 15. It's 13 pounds. And this is wrapped like an actual weapon. It is a metal wrap. This is not just a steel bar with some stuff cut into it. This is a wrapped steel wrap, the same way that you wrapped weapons in the Middle Ages, because I was working with some armored combat fighters, and you're training in things like gloves, so sweaty you can't see, probably covered in blood. Happens a lot more than you would like to talk about. And this is specifically designed to survive the dumbest cardio program we've ever created, which is absolutely the hardest thing I've ever done. It makes boxing look cuddly. It is an evolution of the staff program. Think of it as OODA loop, unchoreographed attack drills, defend drills into hitting targets as hard as possible. So I had originally written the program for this several years ago, but we kept breaking on it Maces and the Chinese maces that you get on Amazon. We were breaking the handles and breaking the heads off of them running the program. So we worked with Badland Outfitters, and he's one of the top rated welders. He used to work for the US Navy. The guy can build a warship. A mace isn't a big deal. So we went through and we looked at all of the materials, the thicknesses, the wall thicknesses, how to reinforce stress points. And we made something that is not just a fitness tool, but which is actually a weapon designed to survive impact. And it's a 1,000-year tool, as I like to call it. You could be buried with it, and they would dig you up in 1,000 years and think you were the king. And you are actually going to break things on this mace, which is what we've been doing. We are using these indestructible cold steel polypropylene staffs in our training. And this thing is eating those up, which I didn't think was possible. I'd never seen anything eat those things up before, but this mace is eating those up. So, equipment, we try to make our equipment as good as possible, but eventually things do break, right? Swords are not forever. Swords break. Gear goes bad. If you use it, it will go bad eventually. Okay, let's go and start talking about something else. We have some people providing some questions from the Discord. I'm going to roll through here. Travel gear question. Update on sand flail. I just found them. I have a whole pile of sand flails that I just found. I got shipped a bag of sand flail. So those of you who don't know, sand flail is a cordura bag made out of 500 to 1,000 denier cordura. And a guy has made this thing, and it rolls up. I had them on my last dirt bike, the one that got stolen, my DRZ 400 Supermoto, because I was taking them to the beach, filling them up with sand, and then swinging them like it's a combination. It's a flail. It's not a mace. So a flail isn't solid. It continues to swing. So you have to stay in motion. Think of it like super heavy 80s nunchucks, which is not a great description, but they're pretty awesome. But I just found a whole pile of sand flails over here when I was working on the storage the other day. So we're going to try and get out those sand flails and use them. I never made any content with them because I was just having fun with them, and then they got stolen, but I got some more, and I didn't know where they were for several months, but I have found, I think, 5 of them now. So we will fill them up and make content for the sand flail. Um, think of it like clubbing where there's no pauses, so the rate of movement is higher. Think of it as an evil hydrocore, like an evil hydrocore where if you hit yourself, it's not gonna go well. Let's continue on down here. People have their 8X with them in the work van. Thank you. That is Mal, M-A-L. Yes, I carry my 8X in my truck. My 8X goes in a Pelican 1510 case, and it goes in my truck. And my Wildman kettlebell goes in there as well. And I just have an 8X and a kettlebell for every vehicle now because why not? With the cost, I go to the grocery store. I went to Costco yesterday, and it cost me as much as 2 Wildman kettlebells, and that was a week's worth of food. So I don't really think that buying things that don't go bad is a bad idea. So I've just taken to strapping them inside. There's a set in my 350. There's a set in my black truck, and then I have 10 here in the warehouse, and I think I have 6 at the farm in Ohio. Like I have a lot of those adjustable kettlebells now. The more inflation goes up, the price of bells stays pretty much the same. Everything else is getting more expensive. Buying equipment that doesn't go bad becomes a better idea every single day. So buy it and put it in your work truck. Buy it and put it in your car. Leave it in there so that you can always go. You don't have to move them in and out of the house or anything. That's how I've done it. Equipment question. Thoughts on 8X Mastodon and Gladiator? Will they work with the Basis of Strength program? Yes, I don't have a Mastodon here or a Gladiator yet. They're on their way, but the program was originally written for the Mastodon. That's why it goes up to 80K in the paperwork of the program. The goal was to get as many people to the 80 as possible, and that's totally feasible and reasonable with a 1.25 pound jump between weights. The percentage of people who can get above 50K drops through the floor when you have 5-pound jumps or 10-pound jumps. There are ways to do it. I have a bunch of the Great Lakes Jira clubs in here, which are monsters. I have I have the 32K, the 36K, and the 40K. And I've gone back to the old kettlebell math from 15 years ago when we didn't have weights in order to make those weights work. So I am waiting on my Mastodon and my Gladiator, but yes, the Basis of Strength program should 100% work with them. That's the whole point of 1.25 pound jumps. That means that it should become a 10-year program, and people should be getting better every workout for 10 years. That was the whole point of the creation of those products. Question, what is the heaviest single arm club you have swung for mills 10 sets of 10? 45. 45, back in the old school, you had a 15, a 20, a 25, a 35, and a 45. So before I had my leg injury, I got up to the 45, 10 sets of 10 for mill and reverse mill. That means I ran the single arm program through with all of those weights. If you have 10-pound jumps, 25 to 35, you end up having to run the program like 3 times to finish the 35. And then you have to run the program about 5 times to finish the 45. So what happens is you start with inside circle, outside circle, shield cast, you run the math, and then at a certain point you fail and you start the program over. You go back to the beginning and you run it again. You go back to the beginning, you run it again. You go back to the beginning and run it again. I never went above single arm 45 because the weights simply did not exist. I made weights. I made a 40, I made a 30, a 40, a 50, a 55, and a 60 that were like the original weights, but they all cost me $700 a piece. But so I ran a two-hand program up to 60 long before any other 60s that I know of existed. I'm sure they're out there. I'm sure there's a bunch in India somewhere in a temple, but they were not available anywhere in North America that I could even find. I ran a single arm program in 2015 with this really awful full metal 55-pound club that I bought because I wanted to run it with a 50, but there was zero traction on the handle. The handle was like glass. It was just a horribly designed chunk of metal. It was a club made by somebody who had no idea what club swinging was about. Everything about it was wrong. And I ran through about half of the program before I threw that stupid club away because it was just trash. It simply wasn't worth struggling to do the program with equipment that's not actually designed to be doing things with. So yeah, the heaviest I've ever gone for mills is 45, 10 sets of 10. I can do 35, probably cold for at least 5 sets of 10. And I haven't done 45 single arm in 7 years. Um, but the whole point of running the programs is that your 50% changes forever. The same way that you lift a 24K kettlebell because 16K becomes light forever. You lift a 32K kettlebell because you want a 24K to be light forever. You'll notice the weight of a lot of things in the world is 50 pounds. Bags of grain is my favorite thing because I grew up on a farm. You move 250-pound bags of grain a day. Um, the whole point of 32K is to make 24K or 50 pounds seem relatively light, and you can move it nearly infinitely. The point of going up to single arm 45 is that single arm 30 becomes not that bad forever. I can pick up a single arm 30 and knock it out, no problem. 30 pounds is my demonstration weight at a seminar. When I have to pick up a club and not put it down for 8 hours at a time, I can run a 30 all day. So that's why you train strength training, is because your 50% becomes higher the higher your max becomes. Warehouse tour. When are we going to do a warehouse tour in here? We did one. We did kind of one. We had Kayvon from Bells of Steel here, and we shot it last week. But we were really just talking about the equipment. As you can see, I have there it is. We have this giant squat rack in the back now, which is actually smaller than I had originally wanted. But this is the Hydra 6-post. So this is a squat section here, and this is a squat section here. And these are 3 pull-up bars set at different heights and 3 pull-up bars set at different heights. This thing back here, the camera's reversed. Sorry, guys. This thing back here is actually an air-powered way to rip people off the ground and flip cars. This is actually for flipping cars, but we've got it toned down now. As you can see, it's on the ceiling. So we're going to do superhero stuff for fun because a lot of my friends are stunt people. We have harnesses, so people are going to be able to practice like the Marvel superhero takeoffs and landings, and we'll be able to adjust the power of it precisely for their body weight so we don't actually end up ripping them through the ceiling. Which is a very real possibility if you mess that up. We just got in the downstairs kitchen a couple months ago, back during the Flowing Dutchman seminar. We have our whole editing bay in here now. We're still working on the downstairs shower, which I demand has a pebble rain floor so that you are barefoot massaging your feet by standing on sharp rocks. I want to make them sharp rocks. Nobody else wants sharp rocks. I'm voting for sharp rocks. So we'll do a better warehouse tour later. And then, of course, we have the shop outside where we have metal manufacture. There's going to be a really cool project coming in here on Saturday, which is like an old 1930s Dodge body, I think, that's strapped on top of a 90s Suburban frame, which is going to be one of the best things ever. The supercharger on it, it's a very bad idea. We have a bunch of automotive projects that we're going to start doing and strapping things like kettlebells and clubs on them and going out to the desert because it's fun in life. You should make life full of fun stuff. You should find things to do. Seminar question. What would you recommend doing before you get the most out of your club seminar? I would recommend you run basis of strength with at least 3 weights. Start now. I've had people show up to seminars who have never had real club training before. I've had people show up from other club seminars, which also were not super prepared. The whole point of basis of strength is that by accident, if you do the math and follow the graph, you should get a lot better at all this stuff. Club seminars are hard. You have to learn to endure. It's a lot of picking up and putting things down. So a club seminar is different from a workout. Seminars are different from practice. A seminar is designed to teach you what and how to practice. The what and how to practice is the basis of strength. Most people do not know what they don't know. They have no clue if they're doing something wrong. Everybody who comes to a club seminar, everybody's squat gets drastically better. Everybody's order position gets drastically better. The whole point is we're trying to make this learning as equal as possible. If you just ran through with an 8X and did 1.25 pound jumps and ran through the whole program for the next 10 years, you should on accident learn everything. The point of a seminar is to shortcut the learning, to get more faster. You can sit down and read a math book, or you can go to a math professor. Simple idea, right? If you did every problem in the math book and you figured out how to do it, then you would figure it out over time. But the goal of going to class is to make that process balanced. The same thing is true with seminars. I'm actually going to a seminar myself. I tell everybody to go to seminars. I tell you to go to at least 2 seminars every year. I have a seminar coming up Monday and Tuesday of next week. I'm going to Superbike School, California Superbike School. I had recommended to a client years ago that he go to California Superbike School in order to help with certain things, right? The more you train badass things, the more badass you can become. Very simple rule, right? If you want to be a badass, go climb every 14,000 foot mountain in Colorado, ride a motorcycle across the country, ride a bicycle from coast to coast, right? Get a black belt in 3 different martial arts. It's not hard to become hardcore. It's just most people don't have a list. An easy way to shortcut that is always to go to seminars. So I'm doing what I tell everybody else to do. And I used to go to SoCal Supermoto because it's cheap, right? Dirt bikes are cheap. Super bikes are expensive. So this is going to be my first superbike school, but I am also going to seminars. I would never tell you guys to do anything I won't do myself. Most important thing, if I tell you to do something, it's because I know it works and because I've done it. So I'm going to go to Superbike School. This is going to be my first 2-day of Superbike ever. I did also just discover another Supermoto school, which I'm definitely going to go to because they ride the bike that I actually have. They ride Huskies. I ride a KTM 690 now because seeing as how my DRZ 400 got stolen. But you can be better at stuff. And going to a school will teach you. I've ridden motorcycles. I rode motorcycles for years before I went to my first class. And I was shocked at how much better I got in such a short period of time that I just keep doing it. So motorcycle school, firearm school, horseback riding school, mountaineering school, wilderness medicine, martial arts. Keep going, never stop going, never stop going. For any seminar, do the recommended stuff first. If you go into a kettlebell seminar, do swings, do clean and press, do Turkish get up, right? But don't put off seminars because you're not ready. Just go because you will become more ready. You'll figure out what you don't know. Otherwise, you might just wander around forever in the dark, never figuring out that you don't know what you don't know. Any plans to have a kettlebell seminar in New Jersey, New York area? No. I'm going to give that one a no. I'm getting a blank stare from off camera here. 2025, maybe. Will would be the one to talk to about that, right? Yeah, he's a New York guy. We'll talk to Will from Order in Progress about that. Any plans on releasing a Mace program? Yes, it's just low on the list because if you do basis of strength, the heavy club program, Mace gets a lot easier. There's a lot of people doing Mace programs out there that are really good, right? Crazy Trainer, great, right? Jared Michael Thomas, Mace Pick. Like I love those guys. I like to talk about the things that I think are the most valuable for the least amount of time. I look at Mace as something that is entertaining and has a lot of value, tons of value, more value than almost anything other than clubs and kettlebells. But I am not done with my kettlebell and club basic concept yet. But Mace doesn't do a lot of stuff that club does, but club does the stuff that Mace does. So I would like to make just a plain Mace 360 program, a really short program, because it seems to me that a lot of people are having trouble getting into the 10-minute range of Mace 360s. So I tend to leave Mace to other people for now. If I got two more editors, you guys would have all the programs that you could possibly stand to do in the next 20 years. Um, but Mace is lower on the priority list than everything else. We have to get our single arm club program out. We have 4 bodyweight programs that we still haven't finished editing. There's 4 more shot and written. They just haven't been out. They were supposed to be out last year, but when people go into the hospital, priorities shift and you spend a lot less time at the office and you spend a lot more time taking care of people, which is what you should do. Because the office is temporary, but your family is forever. So you should make sure your family is good in every way possible. Question from Philip Brewer, exercise question. He's doing longsword. All right, this is a strong lead in already. I'm going to love this question. One issue is arm strength and endurance. I'm doing kettlebell, clean and press, and push-ups for holding the sword overhead and extended forward. Any other ideas? Yes. Mace and club. So longsword is think of it as a relatively light actual physical object, but because the mass of the sword is so long, will you go grab that longsword off the wall over there? We have a longsword sitting here on the wall, which is an armored combat longsword. So it's unedged, but it's used for full armor fighting. This one has been in storage. Do not judge me. It has rust on the blade. Of course, everybody always freaks out because they think that tools don't get used. So longsword, much longer. The actual weight on this is this one is a little beefy because it's for a 270-pound dude. It's about 3 pounds in this length, right? But how you hold it and when you hold it, the movement patterns are really simple. So if you're training longsword, I can talk about this all day. You should definitely be doing single arm heavy club program. You should start with a 15. That is your base movement fitness. You should do basis of strength, probably focusing on levels 1 to 4 and going up in weight. And then Mace 360s at some point in training, but you should be practicing 4 times your specific flourish patterns with the long sword. So you have your up, up, down, down, 2 cuts up one way, rotating 180 degrees, 2 cuts down. And then I highly encourage you to do what nobody will tell you to do, which is how to figure out how to do it left-handed high as well. Because it's going to change muscle firing. You're going to get twice as much time. And by learning to do it left-handed, you will learn you will analyze what you do with your strong side to replicate it with your weak side. It is a way to get much, much, much better at longsword in a very short period of time. So longsword, I don't care about push-ups for longsword. I don't care about push-ups for almost anything. Push-ups are a way that you get a large group of people to all push in a group at once. You can get 100 people in a field and you can count and people can do push-ups together. That was their original purpose. A push-up is part of a burpee. If you are doing longsword, I would encourage you to do push-ups, maybe as part of your warm-up, but I would encourage you to make the majority of that into burpees in armor. If you're doing longsword and in full armor, which is rare because it's expensive. But if you're part of a HEMA club and you're doing it in a mask and you're doing it in gauntlets, not metal gauntlets, some of the HEMA gauntlets, which are like hockey gloves, I would encourage you to do your burpees in that kind of condition. There's a whole, I would got to get out this burpee program I wrote just for this last year. Um, my editor's telling me I'm a fucking asshole and shaking his head at me. But if you want to get good at swinging levers, you swing levers. You swing levers of different lengths. You swing levers of different weights. And you need to be going way above your long sword weight. Not above the length, but above the weight. You want to mimic the base movement pattern, but not the exact movement. You do not do mace on a Pell. You don't try and do 25-pound mace on a Pell. Don't do that. Think of a Pell as a striking surface. Think of it as the analog for boxing, like a heavy bag. You do the actual movements with the weapon. You'll have to sacrifice things like one sword in order to do Pell, because either eventually the Pell will break or the sword will break. So that's why if you're going to get a sword, get 5 of the same sword and destroy 4 of them so you know when they break, and keep the one either competition sword or apocalypse sword, as I like to reference it. I have, I don't know, I think I have 7 of the exact same sword, because now you have 6 that you can break and still have 1 left. So if you're training for longsword, arm strength and endurance is huge. It's huge. Single arm heavy club program, basis of strength. Your kettlebell clean and press program is a good overall conditioner. And then mace specifically, the exercise is 360, and then drop swing, which is a 2-hand overhead press into a drop swing, and then moving that into your longsword stance, which you could think of as warrior stance if you were to think of it in yoga, and you'll think of it as mountain stance if you think of it in Asian martial arts. And I can't remember my HEMA terms for it. They call it straight lunge. I don't know. Somebody will tell me. People yell at me about it, I'm sure. But yes, basis of strength, single arm club, mace in warrior stance with both leads. So I think there's 4 versions of that mace exercise. There's left hand, or there's right hand, right leg lead, right hand, left leg lead, left hand, right lead, left hand, right lead. So ipsilateral, contralateral for all of those drills. Do we have time to write a longsword program? He's gonna quit. He's gonna shoot me. I want to write a longsword program, because that's why this is here. Is because we were gonna write a training program anyway for the Armored Combat League, the Southern California, what is it, Order Draconis. So we were gonna work with them and write them a program anyway, because why not? It's awesome. We should do it. Life is long. Do cool shit. Life is long, but life is incredibly short. Either way, the answer is do cool shit. I'm way. I don't know where you're at. Where you at? Okay. What would be the best for a firefighter? Mace, club, or kettlebell? Or would you do a combination of all 3? I would do a combination of all 3. I was working with Wildlands Firefighter. Wildlands firefighters are like temporary. This is an evil trick that they do with the governments in the Western states, where they make wildlands firefighters into seasonal workers so that they don't have to pay them workers' compensation and stuff when they inevitably get hurt from dragging a 70-pound chainsaw plus the support gear up into a mountain to fight a fire. There's a lot of knee injuries there, and a lot of guys come from wildlands, and then they eventually come down into the cities and they become EMTs, and then they eventually try to get on a firehouse here if they can. It's Very weird how it works here in Southern California. If you're related to somebody, you're probably going to get a job. If you're not, you're probably not. That's my interpretation from knowing tons of guys over the last 15 years. The combination is definitely of kettlebell, of club, and of mace because they all do something different. This is why I tell people to do this. Your kettlebells are your pure brute work capacity. For the most part, I like to turn it into endurance weightlifting, and I want it to go up to the weight of the full kit for a firefighter. That means the weight of the jacket, the helmet, the respirator, the air tank, and your axe. It's probably above 32K. Firefighters are unique. They are the guys who need to be stronger than 32K kettlebell. And we can talk about training for firefighters for that forever. Heavy club swinging, basis of strength, 100%. Get to 50 pounds bare minimum. That exercise where you have to use that big pick to stab plates out of the ceiling gets real easy, real fast if you've done basis of strength and mace training. Your mace training tends to be focused less on what I consider general physical preparedness, which is 10 minutes or of 360s, and it starts to climb up in weight. It starts to climb up in weight. And you're looking at those giant 360s to overhead press. Um, it for a time, but the weights get stupid heavy, right? You're looking at 70-pound maces. Firefighters, for the most part, already tend to come in with like a 400 to 500-pound deadlift. So the conversion over there isn't super bad for them. They tend to be able to go faster up the ladder than everybody else at that stuff. But they tend to be able to make like 5-pound jumps instead of 2.5-pound jumps for a while. Once they get above 50 pounds on a club, they tend to go back to a 2.5-pound jump. But just the addition of taking a firefighter, some guy who's already incredibly strong, and adding rotation strength to them makes them really crazy. I love it when I get calls from firefighters or fire guys that I've trained where they just talk about like axing through a door and dragging an appliance out with an axe, with a fireman's axe, where they pick something and they drag it outside. And I go, that used to be so hard, and now it's not. And it's nice. One of my guys did came from being hurt, did none of the normal firefighter prep, and scored second in his area because he already had the skill. And then we added in kettlebell, club, and mace, and we pulled out all the other stuff entirely. No more deadlifting or anything. And he murdered everybody. He ended up with the second best time with zero prep, specific prep that he was told to do. I think that it works great. That's just me. Stacking something like kettlebells and clubs on top of a bunch of this other training, you get rid of pain, you move better, you breathe better, and the rotation strength. Firefighters, guys have long poles where they're using to stab plates out of ceilings to check for fire above and everything else, and they're using axes. That's club and mace. It's club and mace, buddy. Get to the point where you're doing Mace 360s. We have this giant adjustable mace in here from Bells of Steel that we're working with, and it goes up to 70 pounds. Get to the point where you can do that for 4 minutes nonstop. I love it when people tell me that things like mace and clubs aren't possibly heavy enough in order to affect the development of the legs. I had somebody make a comment like that. I wrote ha 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 like so long, like 5 lines long, but I had to delete it because it was being a dick. People just don't know because they haven't done it. Even a 25-pound mace not putting down for 4 minutes at 32 reps per minute it's 120 plus reps, 128 reps in 4 minutes. And every one of those catches is a leg exercise. People learn to endure leg a lot better. Glutes get massively stronger for the most part. Then you can walk that weight up, getting to the point where you can do a 40-pound mace for 4 minutes nonstop helps firefighters. There's no way out of it. It will make firefighters much, much, much better. Think about the kettlebells as the weight of your entire gear, and you can write that program forever. Twice a week, forever. You can never run out of things to do with that. So if you're doing double bells and you get up to double 32s. You don't even have to get to double 32s. Double 28s is and getting up to 90-second sets. We're working with Order Draconis on this program where we're working on the weight of armor. Think of the weight of firefighter armor and the weight of actual armored combat armor as being really close, really similar. So the program's pretty much the same. And then Mace and Heavy Club. Heavy Club is we stick at that 30-30 because it's that perfect work to rest ratio. So they're getting strength, recovery, movement patterns, rotation all at once. And then that Mace falls into that 4-minute 360 category. I can talk about this stuff all day. Yes, for firefighters, it should be a combination of all three. Firefighters have to be able to endure load and they have to rotate. They spend a lot of time with that axe. If they got to axe through a whole wall, through a whole series of walls to get across an entire building, that is an endurance weightlifting activity with power. Yeah, people are surprised. No, nobody should be surprised that I have a long sword. Never be surprised that I have a long sword or bow or a saddle or way too many katanas or a lot of hammers. There's the stuff floating around in here is amazing. Like we had a hammer throwing range in here for people who were coming to the seminars, just because nobody's ever just, we're talking about throwing patterns a lot. I just send people out into the parking lot with a bucket of hammers to throw hammers left hand and right hand. And so people at lunch are just outside just throwing hammers because nobody's ever told them that you can just throw hammers. Everybody has heard of Thor and knows that he throws a hammer, but nobody's ever gone outside and just thrown hammers. It is very fun, and I highly recommend you do it. So there are buckets of hammers and things like that. There's a whole bucket of tomahawks over here, which I have to finish styling. A huge bucket of tomahawks. I love cold steel tomahawks because they are cheap and they work. I've still managed to never break a head. You break handles all the time. Stuff goes bad, especially if you throw it a lot. The Rifleman Hawk is the one that I wanted to like, but it's way too heavy. I'm going to cut it down and re-profile it. The Pipe Hawk is actually the best one, and the Squaw Hawk, if you're actually going to use it for fighting stuff, the Squaw Hawk is so light and hits so hard. It's amazing. I would love to talk to Cold Steel about tomahawk design. I think everybody should have a tomahawk. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there. Tomahawks are one of those key pieces of equipment that built all of civilization that just everybody has forgotten about and nobody talks about anymore. I think that we should all talk about tomahawks a lot more as being super useful. I think you should have one in every car. That's just me. Also, I think you should have a shovel in every car, tomahawk shovel. Let's get back to some questions here. 8X is on live here somewhere, apparently. They should be able to answer some questions if people have questions. Let's jump in here. Pythonic inertia. This guy asks questions all the time, and because his name is so great, it draws the eye. He's been running the TOI program since it came out last year. He's found that the warm-up doesn't get me sufficiently warm for my deadlift, squat, etc. Any thoughts for more warm-up? Yes. There's a million thoughts on warm-up. Here's the thing. You're never fully warmed up to do stuff. You do enough warm-up to not get hurt. If you wanted to fully warm up, it's the warm-up that you do in Kung Fu, and it takes 45 minutes. But most people simply will not do that amount of time because you end up doing walking drills, breathing drills, shoulder activation drills, all these other things. The first couple of sets of your workout is your warm-up. I've been doing 10 sets of stuff, and the first 3 sets are still warm-up. Really, the best sets are usually sets 5 and 6 of a 10 sets thing. But you can pull other warm-ups in from other programs. But the warm up in TOI is meant to be simple because it's meant to be doable. It's meant to be neck, and you'll notice it gets 1 minute longer each day it goes across, and then it starts over. And the week starts with 1 minute more than it started last week. The warm up for TOI is a neurological training trick in order to help people build compliance without making them so annoyed that they quit. Because the majority, if you did a full warm up, like I had a friend who is a runner for Team Great Britain, but they trained 8 hours a day. Their warm up was 2 hours long. But there's always a question in engineering of how much will people do, and if you tell people that they need to do, and if they're so tired by the end of the warm up that they don't do the workout, the whole thing is a failure. So if you do not feel that you are fully warmed up, pull in warm ups from the other programs. The warm up time frame that we're trying to shoot for is 8 minutes. In the beginning, it's all mobility. Later on, it will all become something like Indian club. I do my warm up currently with Indian Club or with Mace, and my warm up is 20 minutes long, but I'm also dedicating more time to it than anything else because I need to figure out how to communicate it better. Your average person will totally never do it if you ask them to warm up for more than 8 minutes. Horse combat is a challenge. YouTube punk. I can never say that right. I always say it as YouTube. We did some sword fighting on horses back in 2017. If you go back to my Instagram, you'll see some really basic stuff. I was working with this famous wrangler here in Southern California. We were preparing for a movie, which meant horse riding is what the studio wanted us to just horse ride. And I instantly said, that sounds like bullshit because the second we get on set, they're going to ask people to horse ride in armor with a sword and with a shield. So if you've just been riding around in a circle with a helmet and a foam vest on, you're going to fall off on the first day, which did actually happen to a guy and he got fired. So we turned our horseback riding into do the drills that the studio wanted. And then we rode around with these and did unchoreographed attack defend drills in specific positions, right? Learning to block across the body, multiple attacks, learning to block and attack changes the way that you move, but you have to learn to do it without changing your hand position, which is guiding the horse. You have to learn to do things with the shield, riding toward targets and smacking a target, just a PVC pole, so that you're glancing off of it, so that you're getting the idea of how close do you have to be to something. Can you get 1 inch away from a target? Can you ride past a person on the ground without accidentally running them over and killing them? Um, I love this stuff. I love things like riding horses and swinging swords at the same time. I love things like we're going to a little bit later today. One of my friends is coming over, and we're going to be doing machete to gun transitions from unchoreographed machete fighting into Glock trainers because it's fun. Because you should find things to do forever, and nobody's going to teach you a lot of the stuff you want to know except for me because I'm the only guy psychotic enough to do it apparently. Uh, but we're going to keep going with all this stuff. Somebody commented standing up will be an issue later in life. It absolutely will if you've done anything worth talking about late at night. The better your stories, the more you're going to have trouble standing up later on in life. If you have no stories, you're still going to have trouble from not doing anything. There's like a fine line between doing so much stuff that you break every bone in your body and staying alive. But standing up gets harder and harder and harder. It is the inevitable series of aging, but you don't have to accept the degradation of the systems over time. You can fight the fire as long as possible. And that is club swinging, mace swinging, Indian club swinging are the best ways to fight any type of aging forever because they never end. They're cheap, they never end, and they do the most important things: stand up, breathe, rotate, and use your shoulder and your spine and your rib cage the way it should be used. What CHA 53's Chais CHA53Z. What training helps with plantar fasciitis, calcified bone spurs? Any training barefoot where you point your feet straight ahead and you swing weight. The more you swing it this way, the better it is for you. Um, I knew a lot of people in the 80s, they told everybody with plantar fasciitis to put these stupid arches in their shoes, and it made everybody's problems worse and worse and worse. And people got in more and more and more pain. I think you should get rid of the arches. I'm obviously not here to tell you what to do, but training barefoot and pointing your feet straight ahead is very key. This is one of the reasons I tell people to come to seminars, is that they are completely unaware of them moving one foot when they're doing things. When people start swinging weights, they stand for the most part 60% in one leg, their good leg, and that causes their hips to be slightly off and their spine to do a weird thing and their shoulders to do a weird thing. And they'll pivot one foot every time they swing a club, and they are completely and utterly unaware of it. They have no clue until they're doing it, and you walk up and you stand on their foot, and they try to move their foot, and then for the first time, they realize that it's not happening. Anything that swings weights, starting with a lightweight and going to a heavyweight, single arm heavy club is to me the best, fastest way to solve that problem, is to solve plantar fasciitis. By pointing the feet straight ahead, the ankle lines up, the arch tries to rise. Every time you swing a weight, the ankle shifts, the arch tries to rise over and over and over again. At the short side of a club program, think it's 6 sets of 5. 6 times 5 is 30, times 2 is 60, times 3 exercises is 180. At the high end of the program, it's 600 reps. So you will fire the arch of your foot from the low end 180 to the high end 600 times, and then you run that program through with 5 weights, and you will have done more than you will ever get out of that drag the towel for 3 sets of 10 exercise that people tell you to do. 600 versus 30. Then the numbers work out. Give your body the opportunity to learn to do it the right way. You just have to set the conditions right. Um, Plantar fasciitis, I think, can be solved simply by weight swinging. It doesn't work if you just do Indian clubs. The weight's not heavy enough. It works really well with heavy clubs because it swings laterally, which causes this big weight shift, and your hips and your legs to slam into the ground and push into the ground. The heavier the weight, the harder they push, the harder the arch of your foot tries to fire. Some people do have success with Mace, but in the beginning, a lot of Mace stuff is stepping patterns because it's flow Mace is what's taught the most. And if people have bad arches, by moving their feet all the time, they don't give their foot the opportunity to learn to fire the right way. Single arm heavy club swinging is the solution to a lot of that problem. A lot of that problem can be solved that way. Question regarding crossover from club to kettlebell. What would you adjust when one tries to do the basis of strength program with a kettlebell? I would adjust a lot of stuff. Um, the problem with a kettlebell is it's 8 inches across and a club is 3 inches across. So how you swing a club doesn't interfere with your normal standing position. Depending on the length of your arms and the length of your legs, trying to do the basis of strength program with a kettlebell tends to put that really heavy 8-inch cannonball directly at the height of your knees, swinging laterally as fast as possible. If you mess it up, consider that bad. Don't don't ever mess it up. I'm not going to tell you not to try things, but I am going to tell you that the consequence for messing it up gets real serious, real fast. There's a reason club exercises and kettlebell exercises are slightly different. Shape of the implement matters a ton, a ton. Can you do it with kettlebells? Yes, you better be good in order to do it with kettlebells. If you are off, then your knees are not going to like you very much ever again in your life. So I highly recommend that you separate kettlebell exercises for kettlebells and club exercises for clubs. Everything has its own ideal path forward. And you can cross over, and you should explore that because life is long and we should do tons of stuff, but don't mess it up. If you're going to do things that are not recommended, you better be better than the guy who recommended them. We also need a 32 kilogram to 64 kilogram adjustable bell. Don't think I am not working on that. Don't think I am not working on that, guys. Sticker question. When are you selling that Wildman Athletica sticker you showed on the Mace? They're just here. If you come to seminars, there's a pile of stickers here. There's a box of I put them on everything now. All of my gear, all the tables, all my hard cases have stickers on them. Just Wildman stickers, so I can find them. Like my Pelican case when I travel, stickers. My duffel bag, stickers. My Rimowa, stickers. There's just a giant pile of them here at the warehouse. Maybe we'll sell it, but that's kind of, I don't know. It might be more trouble for me to send them to you than it is for you. I don't know. Just come here and get it. I don't know. Just come here and get it. They're free. It's not like we're charging for these things. Uh, yeah, if you guys want some, maybe we'll figure out how to sell them. I'll ask Travis how to do that. I don't know. Right? Travis, I don't know. Can you talk more in depth about your medium to longer term program release plans in terms of which tools, movement patterns, and when? Uh, medium term is finishing the single arm club program. I've told everybody how to write this program for years. I'm just going to release the final version so that I don't have to answer questions about it anymore. We shot it with Blackmagic 6Ks. My editor tells me that's what I need to do because he does not like my other photography. That one will be done. We're going to try to finish next week after I get back from Superbike school. We're going to try to finish a bunch of some of the body weight programs that we shot. We shot them last year, 2 years ago, but we didn't shoot the explainers for them. We shot 6 body weight programs, but we didn't shoot the explainers for all of them, which is the only thing keeping those things from being done. So we have body weight 101 out. We have Krav 1 out. There's a Krav 2. Did we shoot Krav 3? No, we shot Judo 1, Judo 2, and we shoot a screwing push-up. Prone. A prone get up. We shot all of those. We wrote all the books and everything for it. Between me and my editor and our families, we get a lot of stuff on the schedule. We don't get it done. After that, we're going to try to get kettlebell squat program done, and we're going to get the snatch program done. And then that will be the basics of kettlebells all the way through. I want to do the fun stuff. I want to do the double kettlebell monster building programs because I haven't been doing them for like 3 or 4 years, and I want to do them again. I've been doing a fun test version of that twice a week. I've been doing the double competition adjustable bells and doing 90-second sets. And I've just been doing for this 90 seconds on, 90 seconds off. And every set is a different one of the experiments that I have written down. I have a notebook of like 500 things that I'm trying to work through, and I'm trying to figure out which ones aren't going to kill people and which ones are doable for everybody. We're still shooting solidly at medium complexity. There's some super insane complex stuff. We just haven't gotten to any of it yet. So that's medium and long term. Medium is single arm, some more of the body weights, the BJJs, which all have to be done, squat and snatch. And I want to do this one. if anybody will help me do it, I want to do the long sword and the murder mace one. The murder mace one, I think we can get done very quickly. It's just I don't know if anybody will actually survive the shoot. And we shot a version of it, and I don't think it was understandable enough. So we have to mount a camera to the ceiling, shooting straight down, so people can more clearly understand the stepping patterns. Because the cardio mace program, it's all stepping patterns directly from violence. It's essentially turnaround drills, but how you turn around denotes the drill. So it's either ipsilateral, contralateral, turn, and then number of steps. But it's about 10 minutes of it is enough to reduce the most hardened athlete to crying. So we might have to make a lighter mace at some point. Or introduce a longer rest periods, because I think the rest periods are not long enough right now. We were doing it on pure staff protocol, which is 1 minute of work and 30 seconds of break. And I simply don't think that that's doable. I think we might have to make it a 1-to-1, 1 minute work, 1 minute break, in order to make that one survivable, because nobody is living through that one. Nobody's gotten through the full 20 minutes the way it's set up, which is why we test these things. Because if we can't get a bunch of armored combat fighters to live through it, then it's. But granted, they're exerting just an incredible amount of energy on every movement. James Lincoln, question. He is working through the clean and press program and has gotten to a sticking point, working on the perfect path at 5 times 4 rep ladder. I get to the 3rd round and fail. How do you proceed? Go back down and wait. There's going to be a sticking point where you fail, and whenever you fail, you can drop back on a program 20% and change the weights. So if you have a competition bell, it should be impossible to fail, because you should be able to go through half K increments. If you have 4K increments, then you have to drop down. I like the competition bells because you could do it at 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, and fail at 26, and go back and do it at 17, 19, 21. Instead of doing even numbers, do odd numbers and repeat the program. You're going to hit sticking points forever. Sticking points are the law. They are not unusual. They are the law. Every Olympic lifter hits a sticking point, and they drop weight and they rebuild, right? There's an upper limit on human physical strength depending on size, and smaller weights allow us to trick our way around that. But whenever you hit a sticking point, you drop back down and you rerun. You drop back down and you rerun. You drop back down and you rerun. Over and over and over again forever. Not a lot of people make it to 48K press because the equipment simply doesn't exist for 1K jumps up to 48K, right? Once you get above 32K, training gets really expensive because the kettlebells get super expensive and there's no adjustable bell up there. So the reason I tell people adjustable bell is because it gets you to 32, and you can just start doing doubles after that. But people getting above a certain thing, because you go from 32 to 36, which is a 4K jump, which is 8.8 pounds, to 40 to 44 to 48. There's just not a lot of market. There is a 34 out there now. I've never seen a 38. I wonder if there's a 38. Somebody must have a 38 now. But you could probably get to 40 because you have 2K jumps. And if you could add the Pro Kettlebell 1K weight to it, it would just change the way you pick it up and put it down. We might be able to get everybody up into the 40 range. But like, there's a reason people don't get to the 48K. And it's because they hit a sticking point, and either the equipment doesn't exist to rerun it, or it's just physically impossible for people to bear that much load. I don't think it's physically impossible. People can do crazy shit. If we get better equipment, we can do more. So if you hit a sticking point, drop down, redo. The whole point of the adjustable bell is to make that work better forever. COI question. You recommend men progress to at least 12K before moving on. Is there a similar recommendation for range of motion? A 12-inch target box squat depth. Suitcase deadlifts on the floor. I don't really think that you need. So some people, based on size, if you were svelte, then I would say yes, 12-inch box squat depth. People oftentimes, I don't want to put a hard line on where I want to get up to at least 12K because I want them to get to the point where they can start a swing program at 12K. Um, but range of movement can continue to improve for all of training. If you are heavier than you want to be, a lot of people doing TOI are 150 pounds heavier than they want to be. It is unreasonable for me to ask them to have the range of motion of their future self, right? I'm trying to get them up in weight so we can get them to programs with heavier weights and more time under tension so that they can burn more calories. We can work on range of movement later. So I think 12 inches is very reasonable. I think that we had a gentleman at the last club seminar, heavier than he wanted to be, and we had him going down into the club program, squat, lean back, verticalize the spine, pick the feet up. It's the exact same recommendation from TOI. And that is key. But we don't need you to have a perfect range of motion before you move on. We need you to survive the next program. Here's the horrible thing about self-coaching. It's up to you to figure out when that is. So I like men to get to at least 12K, and then they can start into the clean and press program with 12K. Because I'm trying to get people up to the point. But you could run TOI up to 20K if you wanted to, twice a week, moving forward as an easy day when you're also running clean and press eventually. Swings is where we want everybody to get to, but once again, there's size restrictions on doing two-hand swings. So single arm clean and press tends to become a better path forward for people in TOI. So usually it goes TOI, ITK, sorry, and then clean and press, and then swings if you're running a TOI path. If you are running a general physical preparedness path for somebody who is more in the size they want to be, then it tends to go ITK swings, then clean and press. The recommendation changes based on physical size. But we have to always consider what is the most important part of the program. The most important part of the TOI is to prepare you to get to ITKs, to prepare you to get to clean and press, because then we start to burn more calories and more integrated movement. Because the goal is to get into that swing program. The swing program is where people burn a lot of calories and get a lot of change. The reason we keep adding to TOI is because if people hit a block in TOI, I'm not there to personally coach every person because it's simply the goal is to help 10,000, a million people. I can't coach every person. The goal is that if they hit a block, they can jump programs inside TOI and jump programs and continue to get better forever. The point is to not stagnate, and my job is to create a path, a choose your own adventure book forward for people to continue to go as long as they can. And people should be able to go forever. So we can jump past back and forth. Yes, you do not, there is no range of movement recommendation for moving beyond TOI. 12 inches seems great. TOI club integration question. Can the club integration be done two-handed or single arm the same way base TOI program can be? It can be. The club integration track is meant for single arm for size recommendation. People who are larger than they would like to be oftentimes cannot get their two arms straight because of the way that their body is currently structured. But they can rotate with one arm around the structure of their body. So the club integration track is meant for single hand because getting two hands together and perfectly locked out and getting the full range of movement might not be something that people can achieve until they get to a better size or more comfortable size for them. So by telling people they have to do it two hand, we make them think that they can't do it. People who are very large can do single hand club. All of these things have their own track, and there's a reason for them. I was training a trainer, and she was pregnant, and we did single arm club because as her body got bigger, she could rotate around it. At a certain point, she could no longer do two hand club because her body was obstructing the movement of her arms and would cause her to do the technique badly and would cause her to get hurt. So we do the thing that's appropriate for the athlete at the time. You can do it with two hands. It is intended for single hand for a reason. Indian club question. Is this light enough that it could somehow be a second workout overlay base or club integration tracks? Perhaps repeating a weight level while adding this program. Yes, so that is the question. So there are three parts in TOI. We have the dumbbell kettlebell option, we have the single arm heavy club option, and we have the Indian club option. You could combine all three of these things together. Indian club can sit on top of kettlebells or on top of single arm club, single arm heavy club, because the weight recommendation for that is 1 to 3 pounds. Most people are going to do it with 1 pound for a year. That's fine. You can come back and do the whole thing over again with a 2. You can do it with a 3. But heavy club should start around the weight of an empty 8X handle, which is 4.5 pounds for the Wildman. 1 pound versus 4 pounds. 25% to full club to the 8X is 100%. They should not interfere with each other. If you're having trouble in your elbows, in your wrists, then don't overlay them. The whole point, Indian club can sit on top of the kettlebell stuff, no problem. If you're getting elbow pain or wrist pain, overlaying it with single arm heavy club, take it off at heavy club day. Do I have any kettlebell recommendation exercises for long distance runners? Yes, every single one of them. So the way that kettlebells tend to be taught in the beginning is hard style. And this is where most people get their benefit. It's a swing program where you build up to 20 reps inside of a minute in EMOM, and you turn it into a pure power exercise. Beyond that, once you get good at hard style, you eventually get to what you call soft style or endurance style, which is marathoning with a kettlebell, which becomes cleans, long cycle, snatches, and every version of not putting it down. I've used a kettlebell up to 60 minutes, not putting it down up to 29K. So once you learn the basics of kettlebells, you start over, you drop down to maybe 30% of your weight. If you had an adjustable kettlebell, you could do that, and you could go all the way back down, and you could then work on no longer doing strength training, sets of 3 to 5, or power training up to sets of 20, and you go up to sets of 500 or 1,000. Which is a drastically different game. And the reason nobody talked about it for a long time is because the equipment wasn't available. An adjustable kettlebell will allow you to do that. But think about 1 minute, 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 and building up in time. And then every minute you do left and right for one exercise, and then you evolve. And you work your way up, and you don't put the kettlebell down for 30 minutes to 60 minutes. But most people start at 4 minutes, because it's a big thing to jump from power training to strength endurance training like that. But yes, anything that works on a swing, hand to hand swing, around the leg swing, high swing, cleans, hand to hand cleans, double cleans, long cycles, jerks, inside circles, outside circles, alternating circles, snatch, snatch, press, snatch, jerk, clean step back lunge, clean step back lunge, find the ground. All of those basic things can be turned into endurance training exercises for distance runners very, very, very easily. There's a reason you can never run out of things to do with a kettlebell. It's because you can continue to combine them in different ways forever to accommodate different things. Long distance runners are easy to accommodate. Most people just never get beyond the power phase of training with kettlebells. Any chance on a Central Florida seminar? Where are we going? We're working on that. When? August? June? I don't know. Middle later this year. Summer. End of summer. Yes, it is. It is on there. We just haven't finalized the dates yet. But what we want to do is go to ADEX and do training with ADEX. They make my clubs. I've been trying to get down there for years. If everybody in my family would quit trying to die all the time, then we would go down to ADEX more often. But I haven't had a chance to get down there. So we are going to get down there this year, come hell or high water. We're trying to figure out when. We have April is London, May is here, July is here, October, November are here. So we need to find something probably in late summer. When I hear it's like basically death down there, but we'll be probably inside anyway. Which I don't care. Hardcore training, just sweat a lot. Adventure prep question. Okay, I like this one already. The Sifu of my Sifu. So Sifu is a Kung Fu word. It means teacher. So the teacher of my teacher will be in town for 4-day seminar in May, teaching applied long fist for self-defense. Ooh. For everybody who doesn't know, think of long fist as MMA from 800 years ago. What combination of programs would you recommend to survive this? Single arm, heavy club, basis of strength, and we never published that Mace Kung Fu program. Yeah, a single arm heavy club. If you are doing long fist already, then you are already doing your 45-minute prep. You're already doing your hour of forms and structure, right? The thing that's going to make you better at enduring is basic kettlebell focused on power. That means swing program twice a week. Basis of strength, or the short version of that from BJJ, because it will allow you to go up in weight faster, in single arm club. Bar none, no questions asked. You will be better at long fist, no problem. A 4-day seminar for long fist sounds awesome. I would love to do that one. That sounds great. I wish I could get more time in my life to do dope stuff like that. Somebody tell me where that one is. I would actually like to see if I could go to something like that. Granted, I'm not in the lineage, so they probably won't let me show up. And I'm sure I don't have the right outfit for whatever school that is. But yeah, I just took off my Kung Fu shirt. I wear my Kung Fu stuff around here all the time. Everybody laughs at me. I have a pair of Haidong Gumdo, which is Korean sword fighting pants, which are the greatest pants ever made for training. And if you do long fist, I highly recommend that you go find some Haidong Gumdo pants, Korean sword fighting pants. They're substantially superior to any of the pants that you are going to get from long fist. And then who makes the best shirt? Ralph, will you run over there and grab that Kung Fu shirt off of the bay? I think it's over there. And look inside. They make the absolute best Kung Fu shirt. I think it's on the table over there. We'll come back to that. I have, over the years, I am obsessed with finding the best possible gear. It's black. This is the best one I ever got. I got this from a long fist school. This must be 15 years old now. This one is by far the best long fist shirt I've ever had. And this is by Joni Uniforms, JoniE Uniforms, made in the USA, but it's made out of real fabric. It's not the silk or the nonsense stuff. It's a work shirt made in Kung Fu style. Joni Uniforms. I got to get some of these. I'm going to make everybody start wearing these things around the shop. Joni Uniform. And Haidong Gumdo pants. Not really sure where you get those. My buddy gets them in Korea and brings them back for me. I get a new pair every 5 years. I need a new pair, or I need to start manufacturing them myself because they are amazing. How far do you plan to extend the number of arc exercises? God, we haven't made an arc video in forever. I was actually just talking arc with a longsword guide the other day, because we were talking specifically about the difference between single arm heavy club and arc, and those two things sitting on the sides of weapons training. If you're using something that is a long handle, right? If you have your hand up high and your hand down low, this changes the way your movement works. And we were working on a series of arc exercises just for that, and then improving the actual concept of arc in general. I don't know. Put it on the list. We have a list that literally the next 3 years long. Literally, it's 3 years long, and we've had to go to. I've had to learn so much about computer organization and software because we have a list of stuff in a calendar about what, and we write a giant idea, and then we make it over the course of 6 months to a year. We need more people, is what we really need. Uh, if you write a program for longsword, can you write one for short swords, like so cutlass? Oh, that's so easy. Cutlass, cutlass is my baby. I'm a cutlass man myself. I love a cutlass because it's a machete with a guard on it, which is really what makes a machete better. The higher the quality of metal, the more you want a hand guard. You can actually get away without hand guards. Will you grab? Where's our murder machetes at? They got to be on the machete shelf over here. Let's show people the old school murder machetes. Yeah, the rusty ones. Those ones. Um, the murder machetes are my favorite. Are they up top? They're not in the machete pile right over there? They should be in the machete pile. Yeah. These are my favorite. These are the most Mad Max looking things ever. So these are the last two of 50 of what we're calling our murder machetes, or at least the last two that I can find. We bought a box of 50 of these, and they have been the most durable monster machetes. These are 7 years old. These I actually found in the forest where somebody had left them from a training thing several years prior. And these are a classic 18-inch Latin machete, but they are oddly the best thing and the closest thing to a good cutlass trainer that you're going to find, other than they don't have a guard. So if you have no guard, you tend to block one way. If you have a guard, you tend to block a different way because your hand's not in danger. Two different things. But think of a cutlass as, for lack of a better term, a machete. A cutlass is for the common man, not for a well-trained gentleman. So they tended to be of lower quality metal because they were just shoved on a boat, and then they went on a rack and you pulled them off when you needed them, but they had a hand guard on them. I am a cutlass guy to my very end, but the better the quality of metal, the less they absorb force and the more that they bounce and the more that little chunks of metal fly off when they encounter each other in high rates of speed. Just so you guys know, swords, it's not like movies where swords are infinite and they never get damaged. Any sword, if you start clashing sword against sword, is going to start to eat into it like that. Any sword. The type of metal changes the way the flecks of metal fly off. If you're going to do metal on metal, wear eye protection. If you do something like machete, you will find that sparks actually fly off because little chunks of metal break off and the pressure ignites them and they fly through the air. And so just wear $2 safety glasses if you're going to be doing machete on machete training. If you are coming to a staff seminar and you're putting on your kit, your fun kit, so you can learn to move better, it better have eye protection in it. Because we also like to do machete against baseball bat and machete against staff, because why not? It's awesome. Okay, so 8X is in the comments answering questions for people, so people can actually ask them questions here. That's awesome, right? Because they know more about all this stuff than I do. Timothy Sviter. He's got a 10-year-old and a 9-year-old. They love to see them work out with kettlebells and clubs. What would you recommend to have them join me in some form of similar exercise? Indian clubs, I think, is a great thing because Indian clubs allows a parent and two children to stand in the yard barefoot in the grass, and they can get little tiny clubs and they can learn to do patterns together, and everybody can learn to move in sync. And it's not something like kung fu, where teaching kung fu is different. It tends to be taught by a master, not by a parent. Indian clubs can be taught by a parent. You don't even have to know it. You can start running my Indian club program and do it, and as you learn, they will learn, which is something that I love about Indian clubs. I'm actually have Indian clubs for my nieces, and this summer when I am doing niece time, we will have Indian clubs, bows, and swords. Because uh, archery, I think, is also great for kids, but it's not really the physical thing. So we're going to put in Indian clubs. But then I like the archery because the archery is have them shoot and then do dead sprints with their arrows and stuff, which nobody will let anybody do. But I, of course, make them do. Jump over fences with it, shoot stuff, crawl under stuff, shoot stuff, do it left-handed because it should be awesome. Oh, and then they both get their own little swords and knives and belts this year. So we're gonna make them their own little load-bearing kit with arrows and everything, and it's gonna be dope. So yes, Indian clubs. Indian clubs, if you have kids, it's follow the leader essentially with Indian clubs. So get a program. I break it down in the simplest way possible. And then you can do it for years. There's no end to Indian club training. Like you can just get heavier Indian clubs, and eventually you could be doing Indian clubs for 20 minutes with 10 pounders. That's just a long road. Um, all right, we need to bring this into a close here. We have to actually work. We will be doing a live again next week, next Wednesday at 12 noon again. Bring questions. We don't get to everybody's question every time. We tend to start with all the questions in the beginning, and then at a certain point, we jump off and we start answering questions further down. We never can get to everybody's question every time because there are a lot of questions there, probably at least 150 to 200. We do the best we can every time. We try to make it better every time. And we will continue to do this as long as we can, as long as we can continue to buy groceries, I guess. Thank you guys so much for showing up. Uh, if you want to bring more longsword questions next time, we'll talk more about longsword. I love longsword. But we have to actually use this space for something else now. So we'll see you next Wednesday at 12 noon.